Hey there, guys and gals. I just got my copies of Fallen Kingdom and Jungles of Dread, which was part of 1985 Games' last Dungeon Craft Kickstarter. I've done many videos on 1985 Games' stuff before, but I've done a lot of videos on their Dungeon Craft stuff because I love it. It's a great way to get a ton of terrain, a ton of minis that you can just throw on the table. And because it's basically a flat piece of paper that works with both wet and dry erase markers so that you can mark them up should you need to. Like you can write actually on the mini or on the terrain like, oh, something's on fire, something like that. Great. And they stack because they're basically paper. So I'm getting enough terrain in here to run like multiple campaigns, and it's just this one little box. So it's easy for storage, easy to use. In this particular video, we're going to go through the Fallen Kingdom, Jungles of Dread, and the Kickstarter stretch goals for this Kickstarter, but I also picked up the remaining battle maps from Dungeon Craft that I didn't have already, and Dungeon Craft Volume 2, so that I now have everything Dungeon Craft is. I got it all. I will leave a link in the description, and there's probably going to be a card that will appear right now to take you to the video where we unbox this stuff, but because it's going to take a while for us to go through all the stuff here, I figured I'd just separate it into two videos just to make it easy. We're going to go through Fallen Kingdom first, just because it was the first one alphabetically between Fallen Kingdom and Jungles of Dread. No real reason other than that. Fallen Kingdom and Jungles of Dread, obviously going to work if you're doing a campaign within Chult or anything like that. That's great. You want dinosaurs? You want big old lizards? You got it. This is the back. The back just gives you like a preview of what's in this particular box. This is the basic gist of how to use Dungeon Craft. You cut out pieces, cut on any of the dashed or dotted lines. Don't cut the solid black lines because the solid black lines maintain your 1-inch grid that you generally have in most TTRPGs if you're using maps. And obviously your stuff works with dry and wet erase markers, which is great. Though, I mean, most people use dry erase markers these days. And of course you get a thank you. As I did with the Hell and High Water video, I'm going to post a link on Patreon because I catalog all the minis that are in each of the 1985 Games Dungeon Craft sets. I will post a link to a post that I make on Patreon that details all the minis in there. So if you're looking for minis specifically, but you also need some terrain to really spruce things up, you'll know exactly what's in the set. Remember though, everything is double-sided. Remember that the way it is set up is that you are taking, like these are 2 whole rooms that are in there. Now we get more to this stuff where you have the dashed or dotted lines so you know exactly where that guy is. And everything is double-sided. So usually what Dungeon Craft does is one side has an enemy in one colored outfit, and then on the other side is an enemy in another colored outfit. You got snake traps, which, you know, you would expect to see. Ooh, a big old chariot and stuff. This is a lot of empty rooms, which I'm not used to seeing. Usually they have something in them. Oh, this is going to be a great temple. If you're using Chult and you want to say that the Saruk live there, like this is a great set. Oh, that could be like a gargoyle of some kind. Oh man, there's so many traps. It's going to be so fun. Snake pit, you knew it was coming. Vine-locked treasure chests and stuff like that. Oh, so many traps. I'm liking it. I'm a big fan of traps, you know. Stone ladders, those could be very helpful depending on where you are. I'm sorry about the reflection. You can see how shiny the paper is for Dungeon Craft. So the reflection of my chandelier is getting caught in it. This is still the best place for me to film videos like this because there's the most room, but as you can see, there's some issues. Is that the Fountain of Youth? Oh, that would be so cool to have your players jump into. Man, this is sick. Now we're getting some really big carnivorous plants. Oh, those are cool. I definitely don't have any minis of those. A lot of the stuff with Dungeon Craft, like this could be the top floor. Your players hang out here. You flip it over. Now they're inside when they drop down through the ceiling or something. Oh, those are lots of pit traps. And then totems and stuff like that. Oh, that could be your demon face they have to get ready for. Oh, platforms, wooden platforms. Cool, cool. Oh, and then your players fall through them. They crack. Now we're getting into more minis and varieties. Like you have your big kahuna over here. On one side he's red, the other he's blue. You got some more portable ballistae, which were in previous versions. You can use as bridges, broken bridges. Another big elevator platform. You could have a beat 'em up section since there's elevator platforms. We all know every beat 'em up has to have an elevator platform. I was expecting, usually at the end of a Dungeon Craft set, oh, lots of poison. Magma and poison, probably. Yep. Usually at the end of a Dungeon Craft set, there's a whole bunch of pages that are just minis. I actually got a sneak peek at the bottom because I had to remove the cellophane. You have your regular cultists and dudes who live in the jungle over there. Oh, a room that's being invaded by vines. You got your ruins over here for your players to climb in and find stuff. Uh-oh, dinosaur skeletons. That don't look good. Zombie dinosaurs! That's even worse. A little temple to nature that's overgrown. You could use a lot of this for like the ruins of Myth Draenor as well. If you're in the Forgotten Realms. Obviously, if you're not in the Forgotten Realms, you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of tabletop RPGs. You can actually do whatever you want. Those are some really big eggs. That's not good. What makes eggs that big? Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. That's worse. That's objectively worse. Got the crabs. The crabs were in the Brine Break set. And these particular ones were in the stretch goals for the last Kickstarter. You get some big jungle animals. And that is their axe beak, but in a different color scheme. I've definitely seen that one before. Oh, you got some demons. Oh, these are cool. That is their version of a ghoul, which I've seen before. But these other guys are new. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it's a stone golem, I just realized. Here we go, just a page of... Whoa, is that a phoenix? That's a phoenix. This is a whole page of minis. Spiders. Spider swarm. No, thank you. Don't need that. Oh, it's a phoenix. Look at him. Might have to use that for our chaos phoenix. Wow. And then this is just a gargantuan spider. No, thank you. And then if you want it to be even more foreboding, here you go. So that was Fallen Kingdom. Now we move on to Jungles of Dread, which again, you could use this for Chult or any other big old rainforest region. This is the back. Again, same idea. All pieces of paper that are, I guess you could say laminated, but they are shiny enough that you can use your wet and dry erase markers on. You just cut out whatever you need. And if you don't need it, it just goes back in the box. And even if you cut out like one or two things on a paper, because it's flat, you're getting so much value for your money. So much value for your money. Again, you get a thank you from 1985 Games. And now we're going to move on to Jungles of Dread, which is the second part. Fallen Kingdom came first, obviously. Jungles of Dread looks like it's a bit more green than the other one was. Oh, you can finally get in some like mazes and stuff, which is great. You have your big like Maya Aztec ruins to go through. Again, a great option if you're running Tomb of Annihilation, which takes place in Chult, or if your players are just happening to go to Chult or someplace similar. Oh, we're starting early with minis. I feel like this is starting earlier. Those are like blue goblins. You could even say those are Psy Goblins. Except now that the new Lost Mines of Phandelver and Below is out, the Psy Goblins are still regular colored. They're no longer blue. But that's realistically up to you. You can just tell your players that they're blue. Oh, that doesn't look good. That looks like a sacrificial chamber to me. Some ruins to go through. These could be your Aarakocras or other avian races, which is cool. Like that bird lady that lives in Waterdeep, whose name I cannot think of. Oh, would you set the animals free? Or wouldn't you? Maybe you're going to be the one in the cage. Oh, no. Now, everything in Dungeon Craft is flat, but for these, this will work. Oh, yes! I love frog races. I love all kinds of grung, so this is great to me. Why do I feel like these were put in upside down? Whatever, it doesn't matter because you're going to cut them out anyway. But even though everything's intended to be laid flat on your table, if you want, something that I do is I go and I buy little plastic stands for like board games, board game replacement stands, and stuff like that. And then what you can do is cut out 2 minis because they're usually the same on one side. The way Dungeon Craft does things is usually they're a different color on the other side. So if you want, in order to not confuse your players depending on where they're sitting, you can cut out 2 of one of the same mini and then put it in a board game like standy or stand. Yeah, put it in a you can put it in a board game stand, and then you have a stand-up mini, which may be better or worse for your players. It all depends. Oh no, there's quicksand. Oh geez. Oh, monkeys. You could be snips. Wow, dinosaurs. Yes, those are terrifying anthills. I don't want to deal with that. Climb up on top, get up here. I just feel like in general, Fallen Kingdom and Jungles of Dread have less. Well, Fallen Kingdom for sure. We haven't gotten all the way through Jungles of Dread, so I can't say for sure that it has less minis. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Oh yeah, dinosaurs. Let's go. Oh no, zombie dinosaurs. No, I don't want to deal with that. Again, like I said before, a lot of Dungeon Craft stuff is like, here's the top layer, then you flip it over, it's the bottom layer, which is cool. I use those for, we'll see later, but I like the boats that Dungeon Craft does because you get the top layer of a boat, like the deck, and then you get the below decks area, which is cool. Ooh, we're moving on to places that are actually kept. Oh, Raptor Riders! That's cool. Places that are kept well, those hidden temples. You might even say there's some legends of the hidden temple. I'm going to find some really cool jungle music, I hope, by the time this video comes out. There is a lot to go through. On the bright side, I will give you guys a sneak peek. I am pretty ahead of schedule right now. So I do actually have time to work on the videos to make sure that they're everything that I want them to actually be. By the time this video comes out, I'll have released another video that was recorded a long time ago before I started getting a bit more serious about D&D stuff and TTRPG stuff in general. And I wasn't really happy with the results, so hopefully this gives me time to actually sit down and work on stuff. This is a slightly smaller Phoenix than the one that's in Fallen Kingdom. Interesting. Oh, yes! Look at that king! Oh, no, now he's going to murder you. There's no way around. Oh, what is this? They were definitely upside down. Maybe I made them upside down. Whatever, doesn't matter. But, oh, that's a gargantuan creature. Your players will be enveloped by this monster. 100%. But that was everything in Jungles of Dread. So next we're going to take a peek at the Kickstarter stretch goals. Now, when it comes to the stretch goals that you get in 1985 games Kickstarters for Dungeon Craft, often they come separately, and usually there's too many of them to fit into one of the boxes that you already have. So what I like to do is I take like one of the mailing envelopes that FedEx or USPS or even eBay has, and I'll just mark that that's what this is. Like, oh, this is the Brine Break stretch goals, what have you. The other cool thing is that almost all the time when stretch goals get released during a Dungeon Craft Kickstarter, they get released separately as their own things in groups. So like Brine Break, the Carnival, stuff like that, those were originally stretch goals for previous Dungeon Craft Kickstarters. So don't think that there's no chance of you ever getting the Kickstarter stretch goals as part of another set for Dungeon Craft, because they'll probably get released later. So we're going to start with skyships or airships, which is cool. Love them. Absolutely adore them. We have some mines. You can make them the Mines of Moria if you want to. You don't necessarily have to, but they are good. These are great that you can just slap them together. Now, one thing that I notice happens is, like, this isn't the full area of the page. You don't necessarily have to cut off the extra. You can if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to cut off the extra. Just lay them next to each other and tell your players, like, yo, they're connected. These particular mines would have been absolutely amazing for a dungeon I had made outside Gonkelgrim way back when. Oh, it would have been perfect. Instead, I just drew my own little squares. And I printed some which printing maps is usually weird because people don't make them full size, and your printers don't really read them as full size either. There's not a lot of stretch goals, all things considered, compared to previous 1985 games Dungeon Craft Kickstarters. That's a very small pile of stretch goals. Alright, that was everything in Fallen Kingdom, Jungles of Dread, and the Kickstarter stretch goals. Again, there will be a link in the description below and a card somewhere in the video that will link to the video where I go through Dungeon Craft Volume 2 and the battle maps that I didn't have yet. But I hope this helps you make a more informed purchase decision on what's actually in these. And there will also be a link in the description below, as I mentioned before, to a list of all the creatures that appear in these 3-part sets. I will post that on Patreon, and I will make it a public post so everyone can see it. It'll be linked. That post will also link to the video in case people are looking around for it. But I think that those catalogs help when you're like, oh, I do need terrain, but I also need someone to put there. And again, I think Dungeon Craft is a great way to save money getting a ton of terrain that's usable for tons of different things for cheap, and that's storable, because I especially have a lot of trouble finding ample storage space for most of my gear, and Dungeon Craft really lets me have a ton of terrain that's usable at any time. It's modular, you can do whatever you want with it. That isn't difficult to store because it's basically paper. Again, you can always use your wet or dry erase markers on it, so you can mark them up as you feel and then erase it and use it again. If you guys like what you saw, leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, sub, and I will see you guys and gals later in the next one. Don't forget that you can become a YouTube member here. The perks are all listed on the YouTube membership page. There's a join button on all of my videos that pops in, so I don't necessarily want to be like, yo, click this, because it's already there already all the time. But if you want, instead, you can do it on Patreon, where it's easier for you to view my notes. The only benefit that you will get on YouTube as a member that you wouldn't get on Patreon is if you're a YouTube member, you can always see my videos early if I've uploaded them early. So if you get into the upload schedule access tiers, which I think is all of them, you'll know I've put up videos early and you can actually watch them early. BP has been taking advantage of this. He has been watching the videos before they come out and asking me questions and stuff about them. So that's kind of cool. If you do it on Patreon, you won't get that because I haven't figured out how to link them in that fashion yet. That is the only thing you get over YouTube. You can choose whichever way you want to support or not. It's all extra. You leaving the likes and subscribing and comments and stuff like that is also quite helpful to me. And there'll be links in the description below to purchase links for these, which will count as an affiliate link. Meaning, if you purchase them, I get a small cut of the sale at no additional cost to you. So that also helps me out. The only thing I will not recommend is, please don't, I mean, you can if you want to, but there's really no reason to become a YouTube member and subscribe to my Patreon. Just choose one or the other because your rewards are going to be the same. It's super generous of you if you do, but you're not getting anything extra out of it. I'm sorry.